This is the 2025 Ather 450X, and while it looks the same as it did back in 2018 when it made its debut, there are multiple changes to the scooter which don't meet the eye. What does though is this new color option. There are actually two new color options. While the battery pack and the motor remain unchanged, in typical Ather fashion, the company has made some elemental changes to the scooter to keep it a futuristic product, more so for 2025. Now, the agenda of this video is to try out or test out all of these updates and to tell you whether they actually make a difference and whether the price hike that has come along with these updates is worth it. And it's going to be an interesting day because we are at a racetrack where Ather has set up multiple new elements or novel elements like a slalom, a seesaw, a dirt track and a slush pit to allow us to have some fun while we test out all of these updates. So let's get going, but before we progress, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. The most interesting update has come in the form of 3 different traction control modes which are called rain, road and rally. While the 450X already had anti-skid technology, now the intrusion of traction control comes in 3 different modes. Rally being the least intrusive, in which you can have some fun on less traction surface. You can get your rear fishtailing or getting your tail out. But Ather says it intervenes just before it detects that the scooter is gonna lose control completely. Then the rain, as the name suggests, is the most intrusive mode, which would be helpful in, let's say, in monsoon on a wet riding surface where you want total control and don't want to allow your rear to be skidding. And there's a 4th mode as well, which is rather turning the traction control completely off and having full control of the system. And as I said in the beginning, Ather had a dirt track for us to actually test all these 4 modes of traction control. I rode the 450X on the dirt track to try out different traction control modes, but the difference between them wasn't evident. It was only when I switched from rain to TC completely off and vice versa that I felt some noticeable difference. Having said that, these modes will undoubtedly be useful in the real world while riding on slippery surfaces. Moreover, Ather says these modes are tuned in such a way that the intrusion and power fluctuation shouldn't be so prominent that they hamper your riding experience. MRF, Zapper and E-tread tires. That's another update for the entire 450 range, including the S, X and the Apex. Now, these replace the older tires, and Ather says that due to low rolling resistance, this increases the true battery range by up to 24%. We were concerned that whether this will bring along a compromise in terms of grip and feel, but Ather says that the difference is so negligible that it will be difficult for you to figure out in real world scenarios. At the racetrack, maybe you might find some difference in terms of feel, not so much in terms of grip, but when you're riding in the city or in, as I said, in real world scenarios, the difference, as Ather says, will not be that much. While our concern about the lower rolling resistance translating into lower grip is technically valid, there was no dearth of grip from these new tires during our entire track session. Despite the cold Bengaluru weather, the tires didn't take too long to warm up and we were pushing around corners in no time. Leading the 450X into corners was confidence inspiring, with the tires holding up nicely. The only time these rubbers made me nervous was when I braked hard. Now, whether these tires really deliver a longer range than before is something we can tell you only after doing a proper range test later. The next update comes in the form of Magic Twist, which is Ather's version of regenerative braking system, which debuted in the 450 Apex, which is the top of the line scooter in Ather's portfolio. And now in the 2025 450X, Magic Twist has been introduced. Now, it comes in 3 different levels. You can choose between high, low, and you can turn it completely off. Now, in high mode, the regenerative braking is so strong that Ather says it should take care of most of your braking duties in the real world scenario. At the racetrack, I found it a little intrusive because it took some control from my overall braking action, but in the real world scenario, I feel that this should be very useful and should actually negate the need to use the braking in most of the scenarios. In fact, going forward, Ather wants to make their regenerative braking system so strong that you will barely want to use the hardware system braking setup and you will rely on the regenerative braking, which is, I feel, too ahead in the future. As of now, this Magic Twist works really well. This was the second time I was trying out the magic twist at a track. While the regen initially feels too strong in the most intrusive mode, it is easy to get comfortable with over time. The sudden deceleration on rolling off the throttle took me by surprise during the first couple of laps. However, once I got used to it, I started relying on it more than the brakes, which worked for me since I was taking it easy on the track all the time. But the real benefit of the magic twist can only be reaped on public roads, especially in traffic. The new 450X also comes with new AtherStack 6.0 software for the touchscreen display, which, let me remind you, is only offered with the optional Pro Pack. New features introduced with the updated software include a refreshed smartphone application, live scooter charging status notifications, WhatsApp on dashboard, auto reply for calls, Alexa integration, live location sharing, and a scooter locating function. The touchscreen display on the 450 is adequately sensitive to your inputs and is quite fluidic to respond. All the functionalities are easily accessible courtesy of the seamless user interface and clean layout for text and icons. However, while trying out some of the connected features, our test unit refused to pair with my smartphone a couple of times. The core aspects of the Ather 450X have remained the same as before. It is propelled by an electric motor that makes a peak power of 6.4 kW and a peak torque of 26 Nm. The top speed still stands at 90 kmph. It draws power from a lithium-ion battery which can be had with a capacity of either 2.9 kWh or 3.7 kWh. Ather claims that due to the introduction of new tires, the 2.9 kWh variant now delivers a true range of 105 km, which is 20 km more than before, while the 3.7 kWh trim returns a 130 km range as opposed to 105 from the previous model. It rides on 12-inch alloy wheels with telescopic forks and a monoshock, while braking hardware comprises a disc at both ends accompanied by a combined braking system. Without Pro Pack, you get a TFT screen with all the crucial information on display, but when you opt for it by paying extra, a host of features are enabled including warp mode, auto hold, call and music control, Google powered navigation, document storage and more. The standard 3-year battery warranty also gets upgraded to 5 years with the Pro Pack. With no major changes to the overall hardware package, the 450X continues to ride as good as ever. It is one of the few electric scooters on which you can have some fun at a racetrack. It is quick to change directions and leaning into corners doesn't feel unnatural. Even if you go aggressive with your inputs, the scooter feels sure-footed and stable. I rode the scooter in sport mode for the most part and the acceleration and throttle response felt apt for the track. While the scooter is undoubtedly quicker in warp mode, the sudden pull made it difficult for me to maintain a constant pace while going around corners. Also, the power isn't cut off abruptly when you start applying brakes while being on the throttle, which is usually an issue with EVs that have poorly tuned accelerator and brakes. As for the brakes, the front brake delivers a strong bite while being adequately progressive, which further inspires you to ride the scooter spiritedly, especially around the track. The overall seating ergos of the 450X feel natural and upright, with nothing odd about it. Some might feel it is way too compact, but that only makes it all the more playful as per my opinion. The entire line of Ather 450 products have always been pretty impressive. Be it in terms of reliability, in terms of overall build quality, tech, performance, handling and ride quality, and in terms of overall comfort, they have always been great, reliable products. It's the same case with the updated model as well because the core aspects have not been changed. But it's also true that the entire line of Ather 450 models have been an expensive proposition. Now, if I talk about the 2024 model of the 450X, it costs Rs 1.55 lakh ex-showroom, and if you add Pro Pack to that, which actually brings in a lot of goodies and it should be opted, it takes the ex-showroom price to 1.75 lakh and on-road will definitely be more. Now with the updated model, the prices have not been announced while shooting this video, but we have been told that the delta of hike will be from 2 to 6,000. which makes it further expensive. However, if you look at the overall package, the overall updates that Ather has given to the product, it becomes even more drag-worthy, even more enticing as an overall product. So, a big thumbs up for the 450X, the 2024 model. But what we are really eager to test out is how much those tires, the low rolling resistance, really make changes to the overall battery range. The ex-showroom price of the 2.9 kWh and 3.7 kWh variants with Pro Pack have gone up by Rs 6,400 and Rs 2,000 respectively. Although opting for the Pro Pack makes both variants of the 450X substantially more expensive, it makes sense to go for it because otherwise you'll miss out on all the goodies which make the 450X enticing.